Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about the upcoming Warhammer preview at Nova, scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern on August 30th. We talk about the updates to the major Warhammer video game titles such as Total War and Space Marine 2. We talk about our painting projects and some of our favorite painting products, and more. Enjoy.
Just randomly checking out. Beautiful city. Really is.
Tucson, Arizona?
It's got like 500,000 or 600,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So not like Chicago big, but like not Des Moines small. Mm-hmm. Like it's that laid out neat. It is in between 4 mountain ranges. It gets a little more humidity and slightly lower temperatures, even though it's south of Phoenix. But I was looking, they have like 8 gaming stores at least that I found.
Jeez.
And when I was looking at every one of them, it was like the layouts. It was just so impressive. Mm-hmm. Well, for the ones that had hobby stuff. There were some that were just Magic. They were narrow, just tables, sleeves, cards. But then there were some that did everything, and it was like just the way they had it laid out. Separate room feeling thing for like role playing, and then like a separate walkthrough that had tables for the playing, for like whether it's cards or miniatures, and then all display shelves down the middle. Like, yeah, just looked like all of them were hopping. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love seeing that. I always check it out anytime I'm booking stuff in the city. It's like,
well, what I think is funny is we talk to some people who have decision-making powers, and they'll claim, oh, yeah, I love when people go and see other stores because I always want to make my store better. I make improvements, and so when I see something, I want to steal it if it works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, here's the thing that works. And they're like, nah, I'm not doing that. So it's like, it's one of those things where you still, like, some of these things are big changes you'd have to really commit to.
Yeah.
Like with the layout of our store, there's a split level, and so, like, you can't really use the space in the middle like you would at maybe another place where you had a divider.
Nope.
So it's like, you're limited to the space you have, but you need to efficiently use the space you have. And sometimes I feel like the store we're at does not do that.
And the metropolitan area where we're located is not that big.
Right.
And so you can only support so much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of the only ones that can support the volume it does within hours in any direction.
I mean, and that's the case with being here in Iowa, is that you do have to drive hours to get to somewhere specific, right? And people do. They travel from all over to come.
Yeah.
It's actually, I mean, it's not just for Magic, but it's for other stuff too.
Yeah.
And it's like, if there's one thing people are willing to do here, it is travel to go and play, because their local communities are so small. They need to get to a bigger community to participate.
And the travel in areas like this are not difficult.
Right.
It's relatively low traffic
one
roads.
turn.
Yeah.
You know?
Relatively low traffic interstates. And so, but it is, something to think about, where if the divide in the store became more of like miniatures upper level or hobby upper level and cards lower level, because I think the table layout could still support their Magic that they need to, and you just shuffle things around on tournament days. Like,
and the number of people that show up on a typical F&M, cutting a few tables would still be able to support everybody.
Yep.
No problems.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the deal. Is besides like 45-minute drive, 50-minute drive from here, that's like your closest full hobby stores.
Yep.
Kind of other side of Iowa City.
Yep.
So that's kind of a drive to try to go get like basing paste or like terrain grit.
Yeah, or we're reaching
stuff like that.
Or we're all talking in a group and like, hey, I'm going to place an online order from place. Does anyone want in?
Yeah.
And that's fine to do sometimes. I'm glad we have that available.
Yeah.
But it would be great to just
there,
be able to drive in the 10 minutes to the place I know, to the people I know, and get it.
Yeah.
Every time they get more stuff, I buy it when I don't need it. It's like having convention vendors right there, and you just impulse buy.
I just did that today. I got one of those painting bags from what's the place that makes the bags with the zippers? Battle Foam.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of Battle Foam bags in today, like 50 of them. No, not me. Like 20 of them. But one of them, we got one of one for the hobby bag with the new GW paint trays in them.
Okay.
So it holds like
the larger pots,
12 by 3 of normal pots, then one row of 12 for the larger pots. 3 trays of that. And it came in. I was like, "Yep." Oh, I'm unpacking it from the box. Yep, give that to me right now.
Yeah.
So I snatched it up.
People do that when it's there.
Yeah.
They'll go in with a budget in mind when they're getting into hobby or expanding, and see that stuff and just, might as well get a few paints. Might as well grab that nice brush.
Well, like, I've got too many paints now to fit in my one box, so I needed a second one. and that one's got space for both my palette and my paintbrushes, which I've been kind of carrying them around kind of haphazardly. So I was like, yeah, might as well. Why not?
And speaking of, I got to put. I still use the Aventi Art ones, which I like. They're pretty good workhorses. I then tried Game Envy's. I don't remember what their line is called. Their Sable ones, which they had for sale for the first time at Gen Con, in these tubes where you get a set of 5, and it was a really good price. It was like $40. When you compare some of the similar sets from other brands out there that are $100 for that, and so I thought, well, maybe these are going to be, weak. I'll use them for projects or tabletop stuff or stuff I don't care about. Not at all. The tip holds really nice on them. None of them were unevenly cut, and they were a nice in between. They weren't as sharp as like the Abtalungs. The bulbs weren't as big as like the Wrath, but they were like a nice medium. Okay. And it's like 00 through 2, I think. So you get 5. Kaylee got some. I don't know if she paid for them. They might have just thrown them at her, but
as they do.
Yeah, but I haven't tried their new sheets yet. But I like that company. I remember when I first saw them at Adepticon a couple of years ago, and they're always trying to reinvent the wheel with hobby supplies, and some of them are weird ideas, and some of them are just great.
The weird like pop cups for the waters.
I have one.
It's like I don't need. I give a plastic cup. I'm fine. Like
the only thing that the pop cup is for is if you're storing it in something, because you can fold it down to like the size of a small ashtray. So in my carrying case, I keep that one. Yeah. But you just need a cup for painting. Some of those pucks are neat because they have the little things to agitate the brushes. But a lot of their other stuff. I mean, their palette's great. I haven't gotten to try the new paper. I don't know about the copper corner things. A lot of people love those. I guess if you
it's supposed to kill bacteria, right? Is that the idea? Is it keeps your
it's antimicrobial,
fresh,
and then it keeps the sheet flat. So if you keep your wet palette set up for extended periods of time, days in a row, I could see that being useful. I don't. Mine's always new sheet, new day kind of thing. So, but yeah,
not very green.
Nope. I'm sure the sheets break down just fine.
Yeah.
No, just geeking out about that. And I never feel like I get enough paint time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as far as like on the release front, this week's a little quiet because next week we get
Nova.
Great big giant preview event.
Should be huge. 6 days, 2 hours, 44 minutes.
Yep. And when I was looking at Nova's schedule, what I didn't realize is that's become like a 6-day thing. They start stuff on like that Tuesday night.
Jeez, what?
Like there's some stuff that happens then, but the preview event GW's doing is Wednesday night, the 30th.
Was it Wednesday morning?
Maybe it's Wednesday morning.
It was Wednesday morning.
And then they're doing the second half Thursday.
Well, now I don't know.
Yeah. But it's a 2-day event. It's the 30th and 31st. So it sounds like it's an Adepticon level preview event.
It is at night.
Okay.
I take it back. I'm glad you said that because I was going to go log on at 8 in the morning to go watch that.
Where is this?
It's like where
these guys are late.
Yeah, so it is 2 a.m. UK time, which is 8 a.m. for us Central Time.
8 p.m.
Because it's 8 p.m.
Yep.
8 p.m. because it's 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Figured it out.
And so that might explain the sort of trickled out stuff we've seen the last 8 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they were saving it for
so
Nova.
little. And then the games are going through, obviously the main ones, which the top is 40K, AOS, Horus Heresy. That's the top 3, which you would expect that they'd put the highest priority ones at the top of the list, right, on the infographic. And then Old World, Warcry, Underworlds, Blood Bowl.
Yep. So no Titanicus.
So no scale stuff. Titanicus or Aeronautica, none of that.
Which is fine.
Which I'm fine with.
Yep.
We've seen a little bit of that.
And they spent a lot of that one preview event doing that.
What else are we missing from that, though? Kill Team? For Kill Team? That's interesting. Okay.
Now, Old World, there's a chance we were spoiled a little bit already because we've seen a cut.
We've seen some open sprues of some of the things coming out soon-ish. One of them, it was a brand new 2023 GW stamped sprue for a new Pegasus rider of some kind for probably Old World.
I would think it'd have to be from Bertoni since they're one of the first featured.
But we don't know if it was a character.
Right.
It was a plastic sprue.
Yeah.
But I don't think if they were to recut old Pegasus Knight sprues, they would have new dates on it. Right.
Right.
So, I mean, with my inexperienced eye, 'cause I've never owned that kit.
Yeah.
It looked like new plastic stuff, and it looked like a new sculpt to me. But who knows? Maybe it's a re-release with a new.
It was hard to tell by the
stamp.
detail on it, but the plastic Pegasus Knight originally came out pre-2010.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, because I remember when Moose and when I took him to his first Games Day, it was called, in Chicago, Golden Demon, and I can't remember. Jennifer Haley, I think was her name. She was one who used to win a lot of awards. But she had done,
Haley. Yeah, that's right.
She had done a Pegasus Knight that was like swooping over a rooftop, and the wing was pinned to the roof to like hold it in place, and looked real neat.
Yeah.
But that kit existed way back then.
But there are like Bretonnian lords, whatever you want to call them, paladins, or whatever characters that ride Pegasus too. So it could have been that. It looked like it was one Pegasus on the sprue.
Yeah.
Which it could be a one of 3 sprues, and there's 3 in a box kind of thing, but just unsure.
It might have even been a simple. They might have just been able to move stuff, add detail with their CAD system, and like kick out a new one real easy.
Yep. So I expect that to be shown.
I think they want Old World.
All right. So I guess we're getting into predictions then. Of what
Predictions for next
week. That's basically what we're getting to, right?
Right.
All right. So what were you saying about Old World? They want it to be successful, I'm sure.
Well, I also think they want the aesthetic to remain perhaps older. I don't think they want the design aesthetic creeping into the Old World that mirrors what we have in Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Just
I agree.
I think the Horus Heresy designs are trying not to look too much like what we have now in 40K. I think they're trying to distinguish those things from each other just a little bit. So it feels like 4 different worlds instead of... And there'll be crossover. I think there'll be models in...
I mean, it'll be hard to do once, if you still maintain models from fantasy in Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
It's going to be difficult. Like, look at Cities of Sigmar. That's a drastically different aesthetic from Empire.
Correct.
But they're still keeping the Dark Elves. They're still keeping the Dwarves for now. Sort of the more newer plastic Dwarves. Like, are you telling me that they aren't going to have Iron Breakers or Fire Drakes? Fire Drakes?
Iron Drakes.
Iron Drakes?
Yeah.
In Old World? That'd be weird.
Right.
Because it's very aesthetically classic Warhammer dwarves.
Yeah, and dwarves are stubborn, right? So they don't change a lot. Right. So I have to imagine if they're going back 2 centuries, those things were still there.
So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know.
Although I don't think Dark Elves are going to be an Old World at first, right?
Okay.
Because I think a lot of the New World stuff they left out.
I think they kind of
Legends
forecasted a little bit of what's going to be an Old World by saying these are cut from AOS, they're going to be returning back to square bases.
Okay.
Like the Lothorn Sea Guard, perhaps. We'll see them come back.
Yeah.
Or the Swifthawk agents, like the Shadow Warriors.
Yeah.
They're going back, probably.
I can totally see that.
Things like that. They also cut, like, all the Wood Elves. So unless they come out with a new Wood Elf army that's brand new, the Wildwood Rangers and the Sisters of the Thorn are, like, they're gone.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but whatever.
But I think that was the idea of, like, the Sylvaneth becoming what they are now. And Lumineth and Ideneth becoming...
I agree.
The
this might be Band-Aid time, right?
Yeah, and that's cool because then you literally have something for everybody.
Yeah. I'd like to see some of those armies get more expanded, though.
Oh,
obviously.
Yes.
I mean, like, all the time, add more.
We always think that.
Sylvaneth, I mean, a lot of the AOS armies are so limited. I mean, even the ones that are pretty wide are still very, very limited in what they have. Like, I would love to see some living, actual elves be part of Sylvaneth. Doesn't need to all be tree spirits. There can be wood elves. Like, we've seen them. Like, in some of the board games, they've got, like, here's a living wood elf character. It's like, they had an Underworld warband that nothing came of it. Where it was like little like satyr people that were elves that had like beast bodies.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Well, and I always wonder if the designs they use in Underworlds are literally what the R&D team is thinking about for Sigmar.
Right.
But before they can flesh it out in something that's like, well, let's just kick it out as 5 models here until we get back around to it. But I agree. I think that's an opportunity they could expand.
And that was like season 2 or 3 of.
Yeah.
That was Beastgrave. That was like so long ago in Underworlds. It was years ago, and they still haven't paid off on that.
And not only is that an opportunity for them to draw inspiration to AOS proper, but not just using the Underworld's Warband as an AOS unit.
Right.
Like, take those Satyr people, make a unit of them.
Yep.
Give them a hero.
I mean, we saw that with one of the Underworld's bands for Seraphim before the Warrior kit came out. There was one Lizardman Warrior that was part of the Warband, and they were like, "Wow, this looks great. It'd be cool to have a whole unit of that." And then there was a whole unit of them a year later or whatever. And it's like, it looks just like that guy.
Yep.
Perfect. Like, you didn't need to do any more than that. He does not like a replacement for one of the models in the unit. It's like, it's a separate thing.
Yep.
Great. Perfect.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's
we got it with
interesting
the
to
Goblin
see.
Wolf Riders too, I think.
They eventually did release them as a unit, but there's no synergy in the army whatsoever.
Well, yeah, okay.
So I mean,
rules-wise, yeah.
So yeah, the rules just don't make sense really. They're okay.
Yeah.
But they did pay off traditional goblins, grots, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So if we're gonna predict, since this is gonna be
This will be
their other big preview event,
yeah. We'll talk about the preview results next week.
Right.
But so we'll talk about it after we've seen it. So this will be it before.
do we want to do a live one on Wednesday?
Probably could. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, live. We'll
We'll
be
record
watching it,
it.
recording it,
Yeah.
and
We
put it
could
out.
absolutely do that Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's 8 p.m. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
But okay, so predictions. What do we think? So that was Underworld. There's gonna be a Paladin or a Griffin unit or a Pegasus unit, something.
Yeah.
We know there's something for that.
I think Bretonia for Old World, they'll probably show off more progress in the map and the story and whatever they're trying to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say if it'll be anything groundbreaking. Like, I don't know if they're going to show off specifically some Border Princess hero or whatever. But yeah, I think that spoiler that we caught is
It's just more Bretonia.
Bretonia.
Okay. I think we're seeing more Bretonia. I don't think we're going to... Because last time I thought maybe we were going to see like a Tomb King character or something like that. No. I think it's going to be more Bretonia plastic. A unit for Bretonia that's coming out might be Pegasus.
Right.
Something like that. I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah. With stuff like Warcry and Underworlds,
I know, it's so random.
I never know what to guess.
But guess something. All right.
Because with Warcry, they always come up with completely new cultist thingies that are just not like army proper stuff, so it's hard to predict. Underworlds, it's always a shot in the dark because they haven't really adhered to a pattern of which faction they touch.
Yep.
Who's gotten the least attention in Underworlds? Ossiarchs? Maybe.
They have a band.
Ideneth have a band.
Yep. They have one.
So that might be one.
Goblins have several.
Ogres have two.
Ogres have two now. Fire Slayers have one.
Yeah, that's true.
Stormcast have 5. I think something like that.
Khorne has 2.
Yep.
Let's see. Slanesh.
They have one.
Zinch
The
has...
Dread Pageantry.
Zinch has 1.
2 now.
2.
Remember the weird unit with the wizard?
Yep.
The
That's the newer one, yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth guy?
And then Nurgle has
1.
the Shaman Lady and her homies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... Skaven just got a new one.
Yep, they got 2 now.
No,
No, they have 3 now. They have the Assassins. Yep,
they have the original one.
Yeah, they have the original one, the
Yeah.
Assassins, and then now the Plague one that just came out. Yep.
And I saw Mr. Marco Frassoni did his paint scheme for the new ones already. He probably gets stuff early, though. But, yeah, so I don't know what they'll touch there. They'll show a new warband.
Okay.
Is it time for a new season yet? No.
It might be.
Oh, maybe that's
It might be.
They'll show the next season. All I know is good for that game because every time we show up to these conventions,
It's popping.
the tables are full. So, good for that.
So, a new Warhammer Warband, maybe a 2-player box set of some kind for a
Yep.
new season. Whatever.
Yep.
Okay. Warcry. Who do you think they don't get a Warcry Warband?
Let's see. Have regular humans gotten one yet?
No.
Like, not... Maybe Cities.
No, they're getting one. Yes, they are getting one.
Cities has...
Cities is getting the new one where it's like the Huntsman, the 5 dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So they are getting that.
So it's not going to
I don't think we're going to be able to... I don't think we're going to show that off again.
No.
I think we're going to do something else. I would be cool if it was Orcs.
Orcs get work over.
Maybe like a Savage Orc unit.
They needed a bone split or something
Yeah.
for some stuff. Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be cool.
that'd be cool. Or maybe Swamp Orcs. Because I like to imagine they're tying in some things with other games. they were doing a digital preview of like 4 big AAA titles that are coming out soon, or updates for big AAA titles. One of them is that Realms of Ruin game, which is going to be featuring
November 17th.
The Cruel Boys.
Yep.
So I might think maybe there's some synergy there with that release where Cruel Boys are going to get something else.
That'd be fine. A good line for them to keep. It's a pretty good line at initial release. That'd be cool for them to keep expanding it. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, November 17th is when they gave the release date for that game. Mm-hmm. Along with Space Marine 2, it just says winter. Yeah, I guess that. All right. Yeah, I'll go the easy route and say we'll see them get a thing for Warcry. Either them or Bone Splitters, I could see. I mean, Bone Splitters would fit in with what Warcry is so perfectly. Even though they're not looty as much as the other orcs, they're, savages in the wild. Go get it. And so, what other games we got here?
So we have Horus Heresy. I know. Who knows?
So, some character with a Latin title that I'm not familiar with or that doesn't exist in current chapter structure, right? I don't know if they're going to show off like another later stage Primarch like they did with Horus, because like the first lineup of the Primarchs was supposed to be like Crusade era, right? And then now they're showing the Siege of Terra era. I don't know if we're going to get one already. Again, so I just think I don't know. More stuff to keep expanding that line.
I mean, could either be
will we finally
characters?
get the super heavy tank we think they're going to make in plastic? The Falchion?
I don't know.
Fellblade?
Now that you can't use it in 40k, probably.
Yep.
Or a plane. Something plastic. I'm like I said, we're not super. We don't care too much about Heresy.
Nope.
So
a lot of times for me,
Breacher kit.
It's paint. It's paint fodder and parts.
Bolter shield unit. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, there you go.
There
Updated
something like that.
Breacher kit.
Maybe.
That'd be all right.
Age of Sigmar. I think we're going to see season 2 or the second book. I think we're going to see those models pay off. I think we're going to see some Iron Jaws stuff. They showed off the new character already, which is the Ardboy boss.
He looked great.
He looked okay. I mean, he
fits.
He had the Ardboy mask. Yep. Obviously,
he was a little stuntier than the.
Yep. He's not a mega boss kind of thing, which is cool. I don't know how they're going to differentiate and make him different from a boss, but maybe he'll be less fighty and more commandy. Who knows? But I could also see potentially one of their units they're getting maybe will be a Warcry warband.
Oh, sure.
The weird brute, whatever's, but that could just be a unit for the army in general. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see exclusively Iron Jaws, and then maybe one other thing like new ghouls, because we saw a new sprue for a ghoul kit that have weapons. So maybe we'll see all of that,
which I love, and they might not replace the ghouls. Right. We think they might be like a medium
infantry kind of
between the crypt ghouls and the. Yep. And we talked about that I think last week. I love the idea of them. No puns can be avoided here. Fleshing out the Flesh Eater courts because their fluff was so cool when they wrote it to be what it is, and so expanding on that's great. That might be it for Age of Sigmar, though. They might just do the new book.
You know what I want to see?
It's a wish list.
So wish listing for Flesh Eater courts to expand them out because they are sort of vampire-y, right?
A little bit.
That's part of what their thing is. It's a feral vampire curse kind of thing. So they're.
But they believe they're alive?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird delusion. And they actually had a story recently from the first campaign book from the summer, talking about how the aura that they have is infectious. You can get the curse just by being near flesh eaters, and you kind of turn yourself into flesh eater by just being near them.
And I wonder if people aren't aware when it's happening to them.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's absolutely it. No. And so it was super weird. It was actually in the story was happening to a bunch of Nurgle guys were being infected by the Flesh Eater Flesh Eater curse, and they were going mad. They were going insane.
Well, I mean, when you think that like Nurgle is always about growth, and all of a sudden they're decaying instead of growing pustules and sores and bacteria and fungus, they're instead like decaying. Well, a lot of people associate Nurgle with decay, but it's kind of different. It's a different kind of life.
It was definitely an interesting description of a different take on the same kind of thing. It was weird.
So they become bloodthirsty and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it was weird. But I want to see kind of more monstrousness come out of them, right? More like horror models almost. So you've got the flesh eater courts, which are already grotesque.
Yep.
But then you've got the bigger ones. I want to see we have the Monster Hunter unit coming out that came out for Underworlds.
Yep.
Or for Warcry.
Yep.
So they're they're Royal Hunters. They've got that unit that will integrate into the army. I want to see this medium, men-at-arms kind of unit with halberds and stuff, armor, ghouls. I want to see other things get infected. Like, I want to see units of their knights are just like flesh eater centaurs or something. Something weird. Where you don't have a steed, you are the steed,
right.
but you think you're a knight riding a horse kind of thing. Like, weird shit like that.
Or even if they were you had a quadrupedal,
sure,
bestial,
whatever
thing, but those big, long, wicked teeth that flesh eater courts have, yeah.
I mean, they already kind of do that a little bit with the crypt ghouls or the crypt horrors a little bit, but I think they can take it further. You know,
go a little weirder.
They've got the big beasties already with the dragon and the bat.
Terrorgeist.
Yeah. You could expand in there a little bit more. Feral ones that aren't ridden by things that are medium sized, not gigantic, behemoths. Like, plenty of things you could do. Hell, have heavy armored crossbowmen, as part of the army too. Give them some short range shooting, something else that's going to flesh out the army a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of fleshing out the army,
yeah.
No, wait. Before we do that,
40K.
40K.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see all the Space Marines.
You think Space Marines are finally coming?
Yeah.
8 weeks later.
8 weeks later, we'll finally see them.
7. Yeah, it might be 8 weeks since the last preview. I think it might be.
Right.
Space Marines are finally coming. I don't think the Space Marine half of the reveals is going to be anywhere near as large as the Tyranids one.
No.
I think the Tyranids got so much stuff because they needed it. Space Marines, I think, are going to get a couple characters and a new unit and a new vehicle. Well, that's it. It's going to be a little.
Well, most of the Space Marine stuff gets either updated or added new every edition. So you're right in that they don't have a lot of old stuff that needs to come up. And they've announced that they're axing some of those things that are old. So you're right. I think, but they'll make a big deal about it. But it'll be a couple of characters, because they'll come up with a new office like they did with this new apothecary, biologist, and whatever. A new vehicle. I think you're right. Hovery or fly-y. Maybe they'll come up with some new role-specific Primaris unit that we're not thinking of to replace something going away. Mm-hmm. I still am on board with what we've said for months, and that a new assaulty Vanguard type will be in it. So
Vanguard vets, potentially. I think a multi-kit Terminator kit. So you be assault or regular Terminator.
Yeah.
Because the one there is now the new one is a push fit.
It's a classic Stormbolter or whatever. Yeah.
So maybe they'll do multiple arms, storm shields, assault Terminator with everything available. You make both units out of this one kit.
Yeah, I think we'll see any of those kits from Leviathan. Yeah. How they'll be like they did with the Gaunts. How they'll be the full version.
I think we're going to see. If I had to guess one other thing, maybe a las cannon unit.
Las cannon unit has not made its way to Primaris really yet.
Yep. Because we've got missile launchers.
Yep.
We've got plasma.
We've got meltas.
Yep. We've got heavy intercessors that have basically heavy bolters.
Yep.
I think las cannon's the last one we haven't seen.
Yep. And
I guess grav cannons too, but
I do like they're making them kind of unique units.
Yep.
I know it's so bread and butter to have an army where you have a unit of guys that can take any of those weapons, but I think they want more role-specific stuff, even if it hasn't been executed as eloquently as they wanted for 10th so far. But that would totally make sense if they did a grav and or las cannon unit.
Yep. So maybe a heavy weapon team, some kind. We got the flamer unit, obviously from Leviathan. Yep. Sternguards, maybe multi-part coming out too, because we had the push fit ones again. Yep. But I think a veteran Vanguard unit is going to be what we see.
That'll be the new.
It'll be lots of clapping because we're going to see. It'll be the first Primaris / Firstborn interchangeable unit kind of thing that's going to have jump packs. Like we're going to see it. We're finally going to see jump pack assault units that are considered Primaris.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
And if it's a dual kit, even better. Yep. Like if it makes regular grunts and veterans, spectacular. But you're right. I think most of what we're going to see is just what kits are going to be ported to be full version of kits from Leviathan. One new thing with that, one new vehicle, some character. I mean, they're finally releasing standalone, the 9th edition box set characters. Like,
it's really funny.
Yeah, I forgot about
them.
them.
Took that long.
I mean, people have a million of them because they bought that box.
Yep.
But, side note, in the future, but not a part of this preview, I think Arjak Rockfist of the Space Wolves will get a new model this edition.
Okay. That's the Dreadnought?
No. Oh. He is the Storm Shield Thunderhammer Space Wolf in Terminator armor.
Okay.
And right now he's only fine cast, whatever. But he was randomly released as a special character you can unlock in, what is it? Tacticus or whatever that game's called.
Yeah. And again, the hints of like crossover between the different games and things. Someone spoils a little early, you know.
And with the the updates to Terminators in terms of size and detail, I think he'd be an easy one for them to do. I think, sure, Logan probably needs a new one at some point.
Does he? Maybe they'll cut Logan and just have him on the sled.
Just have him on the sled.
That's it.
Isn't that plastic already?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, sled's great.
Yeah. And so I could see Arjak Rockfist because he's very classically like the Thor of space. He's got a hammer he can chuck and it comes back to him. His Storm Shield was one of the last ones to have a 3-up invuln in the previous edition. So, like, I don't know. They might expand him a bit and make him a larger Terminator now.
Okay. I mean, Space Wolves do have a lot of characters that are fine cast or unavailable now. There's another Lucas the Trickster.
Yep.
Was an interesting model that they stopped making him,
yep,
basically.
The guy on the fat wolf / polar bear.
Yeah, the double claws.
Yep.
Oh, what's his name? Oh, yeah, I know exactly. I know you're talking about.
Yep.
But then their Dreadnoughts are all fine cast still?
Nope.
Right?
They have a plastic kit that makes 3 variants now.
Okay. Because there was Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Yep.
There was Murder Fang.
Yep.
And then there was...
And then there's the generic...
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one's plastic now. But it's... I could totally see... they're not Redemptor size, though. They're still...
Classic.
Yeah. But I could definitely see Arjak, and then... Yeah, they might... Canis Wolfborn.
There you go.
Right? Is that him? Or Canis Wolfbane or something like that?
Wolfborn, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because his model was always kind of derpy. That giant wolf just looked like...
It had this, like, big, like, pregnant belly on its chest. It was like this big, round, like, puffed up chest. It was super weird. Like, he was about to, like... I don't know.
And his nose was more wedged like a polar bear, but he was supposed to be a wolf. Rules-wise, he was always pretty baller. But yeah, I could see... I think they might just get rid of him. But I think, Arjak will get a plastic at some point whenever they get around to wolves.
Okay, I like it.
That's not a Nova prediction, just a...
Sure. And then for Blood Bowl?
Oh, yeah. I mean, saving the most important one for last. I don't know.
Star player.
They showed us a bunch of characters recently, but it could be another season booklet.
Sure.
That's one where I don't keep up with how that release structure is to call it. I think we do pretty good when we're predicting the games we know. Admittedly, Blood Bowl is not one of our strong suits. If it's a star player, then that's a Forge World side thing anyway. So, I don't know. Dark Elf.
I think it's going to Amazon.
Oh, all right.
Done. Or maybe a Kislevite, because they did that Kislev line recently.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they'll do a star player. But they had a lot released for that. So, who knows?
And have they told us how these games will be broken up over the 2 days?
I don't think so.
Now, usually, I'm expecting Wednesday will have the big games, and then Thursday might be...
Oh, here's a preview of the model, which is just a good-looking orc with a mask, a Bane mask. Looks great. Tune in for big reveals. He says it's all that one night. I don't think it's broken up. They don't have a second one listed. It's just Wednesday night.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
I think they're going to do it all in one. It'll be a long episode. That'll be fair.
As long as they don't do too much in between talking.
Yeah.
Well,
it seems like it's a lot to go through. I'm hoping they're going to be quick.
Yeah. And maybe it might be small things for a lot of them. As long as they don't eat up 25 minutes of it with Legions Imperialis or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kislev,
Uh-huh.
they've got they're 1/3 of the new DLC
Yeah.
for Total War coming out on the 31st.
It's pretty neat.
The Hag Queen. Interesting character. I got to see some of her mechanics. Some people have early access, and others decided not to release the videos of their early access in a pseudo protest to Creative Assembly for the price. Yeah.
Get out of here.
If $25 is the end of your world,
Like,
just
come on.
But she's got some unique mechanics that Kislev just doesn't have otherwise. I think there was a little bit of a missed opportunity in that it is known in Kislevite lore in the old world that there is a hag school of magic.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that. They gave it to her faction in other ways. There are like the Spirit Essence she accrues, which is another resource that can be spent on various things. A unique line in the tech tree, which can apply curses and hexes and whatever. And then there's a thing sort of like Skaven Rites it reminded me of, where you do these and they're like almost global affecting things. And then you want to get to the ultimate, which is the 6th one. And then she can forge a lot like, is it Throt who has his little laboratory where he makes a bunch of mutations?
Yep, exactly.
Well, she can craft these like magic items that kind of do that.
Is it Throt? Is that his name?
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, it's Throt.
I'm not thinking if it's Workshop. I'm thinking more like
Throt the Unclean's one that is the Mulder Lord.
Yeah, and something like that. Or Grom, I think, had something like this. So she can make these trinkets that are either blessings or curses, and right when a battle starts, they sit there just like banners do, where they're unassigned. And the curse ones you can assign to enemy units. And so you can give them like -8 leadership, minus something move, whatever, or poison to start the battle. Like,
Weird.
So I thought that was really unique. And then she's cool. She starts mounted on kind of a chariot-y thing right off the bat. And then the new hero for them is the Hag Witch hero version. But they're usually death magic. It's like death magic, beast magic, or shadow maybe are the schools that they have. So again, no new hag thing. And then she is like a hybrid of those magic types. And then she brings with her a whole bunch of new units. Beast spirit units.
Okay.
There's that elemental incarnate.
Yep.
The big antlered monster that, oddly enough, would work well in Skaven if that were there too, by the way. And then she has a new version of like a spider unit and other Gribblies that are all really good. I like them.
This is like a whole new faction almost.
Yeah. And then she can kind of still get access to the regular Kislevite units, but some of them, like the higher end ones, are only unlockable for her if she is either allied with one of the 3 main holds or if she owns them.
Huh.
So
That's a fun way to do that.
Yeah.
Like
Otherwise, she makes this whole unique line of units that are decent. At least in the early game, they're good.
I will say, going back to Blood Bowl, they've already shown off a recent Dark Elf star player.
Oh, nuts.
Called Kiroth Krakeneye, who looks like, what's his name?
Lokir?
Lokir. Felhart. So, you're going to be wrong on that.
I'm going to be wrong.
Sorry.
It's going to end up...
Unless they just show him again.
You say Amazon, so I'll say a skink.
Skink. Okay.
Why not? Yeah. Loves me some Total War, so I'm excited for that. Update.
And then the other 2 factions, so that's Kislev.
That was Kislev.
They're doing an update to...
The big ones you
The-
want
the-
is
the-
Yuan
the
Bo
dragon.
for Cathay, who I guess a lot of early access people say is he and his faction are bananas.
Okay.
Good. Right out of the gate. I mean, Cathay on the campaign map is already super good. They start in a relatively secluded location. You're virtually immune to anything from the east because it's the end of the world minus the little teleport things that you can sort of use. But it takes like 6 turns to complete that move anyway. And then he seems to be great at magic and great at fighting and provides enormous faction buffs. We talked a little bit about him already. And then the other one is the Changeling.
That's right.
Who I guess their faction in general got a huge makeover with this patch, because it's also patch 4.0. And I'll be interested to play that one. I love how they've done the Chaos factions in general, but the deity-specific ones are weaker than the Chaos Warrior variants outside of like Scarbrand. Because Scarbrand can you can just point and click his army in any direction and just go. That's the benefit of, like, he benefits from that. But the individual ones, like Tzeentch is not as good, even with Kairos Fateweaver, as like Village the Curseling is with the Chaos Warriors. And Kugoth Plaguefather is nowhere near as good as what's his butt? The
Leech Lord.
Yeah, Festus. I just think the Warriors of Chaos are a more interesting and more powerful faction overall. So expanding that or revamping them, I think, is a good update. I know I'll play the heck out of it. I stand alone a little bit because I think literally every gamer on planet Earth is playing Baldur's Gate right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have reinstalled it because I had it uninstalled after the 3 years ago, whatever, original version we had. But I just reinstalled and I just haven't been able to put any time into it. My first one I might go with, I don't know, a monk. It's one of 4 D&D characters that I played the most. So haven't done much research in terms of optimal build, but it's not like it's not like
it's not a competitive game.
Well,
you know,
and it's not like, well, that's just it. I mean, I'm going to go into it blind because it isn't like a farming. Like I'm not doing that to do like Diablo's endgame kind of thing.
Exactly.
But I think that drew a lot of attention away from Diablo 4, really.
Yeah.
Because Diablo 4, for all its flaws, that people still played it. I mean, just like people played Diablo 3 despite their complaining.
It's funny, though, because Diablo 4, a lot of people that I knew who played it complained about it while playing it, but then didn't stop playing it.
Kept playing the heck out of it.
You know, it's just like, you said this is bad. You kind of talked me out of getting it.
Yeah.
Because you said it's not very good, but then you're still going.
And the content creators who featured it, their fans still tune in and still want to watch more.
I think it's one of those games where, like, the launch wasn't great. It'll be better in, like, 6 months, and then maybe I'll pick it up then.
Yeah.
Because, like, one of the biggest complaints about that game was that there just wasn't itemization. Like, it had end-game Diablo 3 itemization, where you're just looking for better numbers on the same things you already have.
Yep.
And then the unique items that you could get, there was a total of, like, 20. Each class had access to, like, 5 of them. It's like 3 unique ones for the class, and then 2 universal ones that they could get. And so it's like, well, if you want to get unique pants, there's one set of unique pants you can get. Whereas, like, Diablo 2, the pinnacle of Diablo, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was.
If you wanted pants, there was a unique set of pants literally for all 18 of the armor versions.
Yep.
And then there was a pair of pants for, like, 8 or 9 different armor sets. So it's like, you want unique pants? I got you 21 different ones to choose from. Some of them are good for you, some of them aren't. You know?
And well, back then all they had to do was change the color of them.
Sure.
It was like,
but there were still like 18 different, character models that would show up on your character.
And there were grades of it. Like early on, you'd go through like the leather and whatever, and then you get to shark skin, and then you get to
exactly. And then when they reset up to hell quality, the the shark skin, which was like the studded leather, whatever it was like it was still high end gear, even though it was leather.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't like your heraldic plate was, obviously a paladin armor or something, and it required a lot of strength, but it wasn't necessarily like better than your shark skin tunic unique.
Right. Yep.
So
because it was like
it didn't need to be.
No.
Right?
And each time you went up a difficulty, they basically made the gear accommodate that.
Right.
And Diablo 2 was just done so well in that regard.
Yeah.
And Diablo 3 did some things right. The seasons did get stale. It was just new season starts, and I just have to find the new one best build for my class, get that set.
Yep.
And then they even had you start.
You start with a set
because
you could just do a quest line, and you get all 100% of a set just from doing a quest.
Yeah, and so then you were just finding better rolls of it.
Right.
So it did get to where you just found the one best build for each class, and then Paragon as high as you could.
Yep.
4, I don't even know what it's like because I haven't played the season. But I really wanted it to be good. It's a shame that it felt super incomplete, which I know Blizzard's not the same anymore.
I think it was an issue that they didn't even they're running on like a 10-year-old engine, 12-year-old engine, so it just looks like Diablo 3 still. It doesn't look any better, really.
And it doesn't feel super optimized because even when I crank up the graphics to have it look pretty, just not the smoothest thing. Even when the FPS reads good.
And then on top of all that, the story was real dumb.
And that I haven't completed yet.
Which I mean,
But what I do know is
Diablo 3 story was dumb too. Diablo 2 story was dumb. All the stories are dumb.
Diablo 3's demo of Act 1 story was great.
Yes.
And the rest of the game was just not that.
Yeah.
What a way to get people hooked by having that be the first playable thing, and the rest of the story is just not that good.
Yep.
It was more like, well, how much of Diablo 2 can we copy in terms of look? Because it was like, oh, the second act, we're in the desert, it, and then we'll go to heaven instead of hell, like for the Act 4. And this one, all I know is like the first little bit that I played, there wasn't even like a story to follow. Everything started a new quest line everywhere I went. The guy's with you, then he has to go somewhere, then he's with you, then he has to go somewhere. Like, I don't know. And then they drop Lilith in the story like way too early. Too big of a thing happens in the first encounter. Oh, there's this giant screen-sized demon that you're fighting immediately. It was like that. You need to carrot me in to the believability of this instead of this town with 18 people is harboring a massive demon, and people are sacrificing newbies. Like, I don't know. So you're right. The story was a little.
Well, then the end of it's no spoilers, but it's real dumb too.
Oh, good. Can't wait.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that the game gets better, and then eventually I will play.
And whereas Baldur's Gate goes without saying, it's nothing but great reviews everywhere.
But again,
even though there's bugginess,
once I've gotten to the end of it, the polish has worn off a little bit. The first half of the game is much more polished than the end.
Okay.
It'll be a lot better once they've patched it a few times. So playing it slower is not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, and this isn't something we talk about much on this show, like as far as diving into video games. But I commend that the people who did Baldur's Gate, when they did that first playtest years ago, they delayed it and worked on it so that we could get at least the first half of the game being super polished.
Yeah.
But it's weird that that's the state we're in, where the audiences now demand stuff so quick that these companies have deadlines that are unreasonable, and these programmers have to kick it out as fast as they can. And so we always are getting stuff that has to be patched.
Yep.
Because it's just
no matter what, even the best version of a thing
Yep.
comes out and it's like, well, only play the first half of the game because the second half isn't quite done yet.
Right.
They're still not quite done yet.
Or it's super buggy, or there's a whole bunch of content that feels...
Well, I know data miners for the game, not to sound complaining. I'm not complaining. It's great. But there was so much content they actually had to cut because they did need to get it out.
Yep.
So there's like mechanics in the game that just aren't there. There are core rules of D&D that they just didn't implement. There are quest lines that are still programmed into the game that you can data mine and find that have no hooks because you can't pursue them. There are like zones that they just cut because they didn't have time. So, spoilers, you go to Baldur's Gate. The game is called Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate's a huge city, and there's multiple different sections of it.
Yep. I
don't think you ever really get to go and explore the upper city of Baldur's Gate, which is like the rich people quarter. It's the outskirts, which is a town called something, I don't remember, and then under the city, and then lower city. You don't actually go get to see upper city Baldur's Gate.
Right, where all the politics and all the stuff happens.
Exactly. And so, like, that is a little bit of a misrepresentation. I mean, they didn't have any expectations of how much of Baldur's Gate we're going to see, because it is Act 3. But just the fact you don't get to, like, really go there at all and explore anything is like, that's a bit of a disappointment.
Maybe they'll... I don't know if that's something that you think they could fit, but that'd be neat to see them sandbox that city a bit more.
They said they didn't have any plans for DLCs for it, but that doesn't mean they're not going to have it.
I think the temptation's too strong for a lot of companies to not make DLC.
Yeah. But, like, where you go, right? Like, you add on more story before the end of the game? Do you make it so that it takes place after the end of the game? Like, what do you do with it? Because I could see them doing patches to add more quests and stuff throughout the game. So when I go back and replay it, there's more to do.
Yeah.
That would be neat. I'd like to see that. Because I know there are plenty of quest lines and, like, even companion quests that they had to drastically alter because the quest was going to take you to Upper City and you have to do stuff up there, but that whole zone is cut. So now we have to reconcile the story without going there. Or, like the mechanics, just core mechanics. They couldn't. I don't know if they didn't have time or what, but they didn't implement the dodge action. That's weird. dodge is a core action you should be able to do, where you're just like, you take a defensive thing instead of attacking. Well, when the monk class came out, it has a bonus action key ability that is dodge. It's key defense. You activate dodge. It's like, why isn't that a core mechanic for a normal class to be able to dodge? But a monk can do it as a bonus action, right? Like, where this is the same thing, only a normal action. Like, that should be in the game. I don't know why that didn't make it. Yeah. Modding will help with that. People can fix it. Add things that the core rule didn't have. They'll be able to fix that. Or like exhaustion as a mechanic. Right now, as long as you've got HP and you've got spells, you never have to take a long rest. You just keep going forever.
Forever.
Yeah. So exhaustion was a mechanic that they think they planned on having, so you couldn't just marathon it with like a group of fighters. Yep. You know what I mean? Like they just don't need the rest. They don't need spells. Just keep going.
Keep hacking. Keep going.
So like you'd have to actually manage your time and take long rests in order to progress because when you rest, the story timeline progresses in the game. So certain quests you'll just straight up fail because you didn't get to them soon enough because you took too many long rests. Well, there's nothing forcing you to take long rests. That's part of the issue. So an exhaustion mechanic perhaps could make it back in. There's plenty of like characters and like important ones. Lolth. The Raven Queen. Things like that. These big characters that should have been, that were supposed to be in the game that just didn't make it. So, I mean, every game has cut content. All of them. Okay. But restoration patches exist because communities restore content, or the company will say, well, we've got time now we can bring this back and add it back in as a side story that should have been here. Like, at one point you're going through these shadow-cursed lands, and you get attacked by this flock of, like, cursed ravens. And you're like, oh, man, somebody's going to be controlling these ravens, right? Probably supposed to. Never pays off. Mm-hmm. You have no idea where these cursed raven flock comes from. And it's just like, well, there should be a raven queen that you're supposed to encounter that is operating down there, or whatever. But yeah,
interesting. Yeah, to fulfill or re-add stuff that had to be axed at the last second would add replayability to the game.
But it also drastically changes the outcome of the story.
Yep.
And are they willing to do that? I don't know.
A little more choose your own adventure-y.
Yeah.
But tie it back in. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Long overdue sequel is Space Marine 2.
Yep.
Coming in the winter, allegedly.
And we had seen that amazing trailer that's like, I don't know if it gave you goosebumps or it brought tears to your eyes. Good. It was so good because you see the desperation of the human, of the normal human, trying to fight Tyranids, and they're like, our God has forsaken us. These things are we can't do anything to them, right? These Tyranid monsters, as a human, my lasgun, we're not going to win this battle. And all of a sudden, swooping in come 3 Space Marines that completely effortlessly turn the tide of your battle by killing the leader, by like hacking them up, saving you and your friends, just effort. No effort whatsoever.
Yep.
And they're like, here's this mythical being that shows up that just came out of nowhere and saved the day. Doesn't even acknowledge me.
Nope.
But I'm, just that whole scene just like kind of gives me shivers. Because it was so well done. Yep. And you see a familiar face when he takes his helmet off. But it's finally coming out at the end of the year, it said?
It says winter 2023.
Okay. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that.
And by saying just winter 2023, whereas like Realm of Ruin has a date, and the Warhammer 3 patch has a date.
Mm-hmm.
This just says which means they could push it back if they want it to be more polished, which I'm totally
fine with that too.
But they showed some more footage at a recent thing where they showed off a few of their titles, and they revealed some gameplay footage of you using Titus. They did confirm he's been demoted to a lieutenant-ish. Mm-hmm. But they showed some of the gameplay mechanics, switching from range to melee and how that works. There's a wide variety of animations for the melee, even though it's sort of Gears of War E.
Okay.
So there's a couple of like trick ones that you can do to get a certain animation that probably lose luster over time when you do it over and over again. But it did show a wide variety. It showed how these certain Tyranid creatures fight. Like the Tyranid warrior was really good at like covering up at a right time and then opening up when it needed to attack you. You had cool like ways to finish stuff. He has an action, Titus does, where you can catch a Gaunt jumping at him in midair and like sort of choke slam it to the ground. But the all of that looked great. It looks super action-packed, which is what I loved about the first one.
Yep.
And they're showing off the solo play mode right now, which...
I don't give two shits about multiplayer.
Yeah, and I know multiplayer is always where they have to think, but if the story mode of the first Space Marine was good, it was just short.
Yeah.
And if
it wasn't that short, though.
And if this is anything like that,
yeah.
fantastic.
It was a solid single-player campaign, though.
It was
10 hours. Like, it was okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was no Fire Warrior, but...
yeah. Yeah, the bullet bills that your bolts were fired.
God dang it. But it was great. It was a fun single-player campaign game, which I think more companies need to focus on.
Yep.
Every game does not need to be multiplayer.
Agreed. And I think that lends itself to what we're talking about, where again,
competitive multiplayer.
Well, yeah,
cooperative multiplayer, 100%, all day, all the time.
But games have done that for 20 plus years. And I think that parallels what we talked about before, where these program teams, these development teams, don't have a lot of time because they're given a deadline. And I know that can be flexible, but they have to put so much effort into making the multiplayer thing have the dopamine triggers to keep people coming back on, and so single player gets a lot of times left out. But I want a good single player game.
Agreed.
And I hope Space Marine has that. That's what they were showing us anyway in the gameplay.
Well, they definitely also showed that there is co-op in it, where the other two unnamed Space Marines, or if they have names, we don't know them, would be your drop in and play with partners that would join your squad when you're playing cooperative multiplayer. Which
would be great.
One of you would be Titus, the other one would be, Tyrannius, and the other one would be Marnell.
Right. Yeah.
Marnell.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, but that's a fun way of doing it. They're not the main characters, you are, but they're your support squad. Fun.
Which would be great.
Yeah.
And Tyranids as the enemy makes it an interesting dynamic, because the first game it was orcs until you found out a chaos guy was behind it.
Yep.
Which is always the thing.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
It's always a chaos guy behind it.
It's always a chaos guy. Well, Tyranids, they showed that off also going back to Dawn of War, where orcs were a common enemy, but you found out there was a chaos sorcerer who not only backstabbed the Chaos Lord, but was trying to manipulate the orcs into doing stuff.
Yep.
Or he was telling the Chaos Lord, you're not going to be able to intimidate the orcs, so we need to be able to use them. You offer them the prospect of war, and sure, you get to keep the loot and whatever, and they'll do it. Well, there's no... Chaos doesn't get to manipulate Tyranids. That's just not a thing. So, hopefully, that's not what's behind it.
You know what I would love to see is the integration of the new units that they've shown off for Tyranids in this game.
Yeah, at least,
you know what I mean?
At least by a patch.
I want to see. I want to see if you see some kind of a new Death Leaper. It's the new design model of a Death
That'd
Leaper.
Be sweet.
With the cloak and everything.
Yeah.
Or you have to fight a giant monster and it is a Norn emissary or something. Right. I want to see the new stuff in this new game that's coming out. Because so many times when a game comes out like that, it's just here's the stuff we had from last edition when we were given the project. That's all we were allowed to use. The new stuff that's coming out at the same time in the game, we weren't allowed to use this stuff. Right. That's such a disappointment. When that kind of
it could be that if GW Studio worked with
right.
whoever's doing this Space Marine game, that they showed them the designs, because they could have had those 18 months ago, 2 years ago.
Right.
And the game's not coming out until after the Tyranids are released.
Right.
So maybe that'd be great, because they've only shown us the Gaunts and Warriors so far, really. So that would be spectacular if they incorporated some new stuff. I agree, or at the very least with patches or whatever down the road. That would be neat, introducing the Norn Emissary as this new threat.
Or you go in there and you're fighting and you're starting to get blasted as you're running through the thing, and you look, barb gaunts. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Slows your movement down a bit, and
weren't expecting to see that.
That would be super cool.
Yeah.
Also super cool. We're going to go a little farther here in the media. They were showing off stuff coming to Warhammer Plus.
Yep.
And the one is that Necron story.
Pariah Nexus?
Yeah.
Yep.
And is it one of the named Necrons we know of, or is it just a Cryptek guy?
You know what? I didn't look far enough into it. I'm not sure.
It's got that Cyclopean...
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it's a generic dude. But... Because I didn't recognize him.
All I know is they made him super menacing.
Unless is it Illuminor Caesaris? It might be Illuminor Zeros.
Is he the Cyclops? No.
He has a Cyclops eye.
Illuminor Zeros is the big mechanical one, right?
The quadrupedal guy.
Yeah.
He's a Cyclops.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't four-legged, was he?
I don't think so.
Okay. But it's about Space Marines, it's about Sisters, and it's about Necrons.
And there's
right?
Astra Militarum.
Okay, right. They're always there.
Because they had that one scene where they've got an Astra Militarum and a Sister standing there, and that Sister's a little bit bigger than the Astra Militarum, and then they had the Space Marine standing there.
Yeah.
And he's just like, it's like, that's the scale.
So, I will read this to you. Emerging from the shadows, Illuminor Zeros begins a truly grand experiment to reinstate Necron supremacy upon the planet of Paradise, or Paradise, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So there you go. Brian X's gorgeous animation.
All I know is the animation looked great, the voice work sounded great.
September 13th is what we're looking at.
Oh, that's not that far away.
Yeah.
And is it a series?
I think so. Okay. No, it doesn't say how many it's going to be. Maybe it'll be a movie. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
They don't really say.
And this one Space Marine who's featured in it, there's a couple of instances where there's a female character who asks him, like, what kind of angel are you? Mm-hmm. So apparently he does something that seems super questionable, and then he says, my name is, and then the scene cuts. So I don't know if it's somebody we know from lore.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. But he had a Primaris mask on,
yep.
or that whisker pattern.
Yeah, the Mark IV kind of look.
I think the whole thing looks great. I've loved their series. We've talked about that. I've liked a lot of their series so far.
Is he a salamander?
I don't know.
I see a flame on his shoulder pad. I don't know.
All right.
It's not a great view of it, though. It might be green. It might be a salamander. Yeah, I'm excited. Like most of their shows have been great. My only complaint is that they don't come out often enough.
I agree.
You know?
And I burn through them. Like I watch them all so fast, and it's like
because a lot of them are short. Like the Tau one that came out was like 12-minute episodes.
Yeah.
It's like it'd be longer than that.
And what was the noir one that
Inquisitor?
Inquisitor?
That was the Inquisitor one.
Yeah.
I think it was just called Inquisitor.
I liked that one too.
That was cool.
Yeah. All that good stuff to look forward to.
Yep.
But before that, big preview event.
Yep.
Next week for Nova. I hope there's a big payoff. We've waited a while to see some new juice.
Yeah.
Summertime is always a little slower for that, but...
And it is, every single year. Every time the year it's summer, it's like, where's the new stuff? It's like, well, it's summer.
Yeah.
Stuff doesn't come out in summer.
And they're probably ramping up for a big fall and winter.
When Christmas time, it's got boxes and boxes of stuff that are coming out.
Well, and it's a little thing, but the weekend becomes more valuable to the hobbyist in the fall. Mm-hmm. You know, work usually ramps up for most businesses. People are back in school.
Yeah.
And so then the hobby becomes more valuable on the weekend, so sure, release all your stuff. Yeah, so I'm excited. We'll try to review it while it's going on. We could do that.
Yep.
Special episode one day early.
Absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise it's been definitely a miniature fast. Mm-hmm. In the meantime,
I tell you what, I am done fasting.
So am I.
I'm ready for something meaty.
Ready to be filled with meaty goodness.
Yep. Phrasing. Let's eat.
Let's do that.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed. Check out our new episodes every Friday at Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Audible, or on Podbean. You can also follow myself and Llama on Instagram for more. We are at Hyena Paints Minis and at Llama Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.